All right, guys, welcome back to yet another episode of Let's Assess. Today, we are going to be diving into something that me and AJ have a little experience with now at this point in the year, and that is 146 versus 155. So these are the staple tracks for the guys who are trying to get rowdy and do all the bow ties and stuff. We're going to jump right in and tell you what we think of each.
Look, I don't want to talk. How you try and press the kid and read it, you was soft. All you know is cap.
All right, guys, welcome back. Like we said, we're talking about 146 versus 155. These are for the rowdy guys. So we're going to kind of jump in. We're going to talk about the track in general, and then we're going to kind of talk about some situations that we like it in, that we don't like it in. And then we're going to dive into some NA versus boost on these tracks. And maybe, is it a good idea to go boost on these tracks, or is it a bad idea? So, AJ, jump right into what you think of not boosted, just normally, and how they act.
Sounds good. Welcome back, guys. Yeah, thanks for listening in. If you're liking what you're hearing, like, subscribe. It helps us a ton. Comment, everything. Just interact with us. We appreciate it.
It helps us out a lot, guys.
Yeah, and we appreciate seeing what you guys are saying, and we take all that feedback in, and it makes it better for you guys, hopefully, at the end of the day. So, yeah, with the 146, 155, I think the biggest thing that you'll see the difference in is 146 seems to be a smaller lug. They haven't built a 146 with a bigger lug, and I think that's where some of the hindering comes with the 146 track. Polaris is a 2.6, Ski-Doo is a 2.5, same as a Lynx.
From the factory.
From factory.
Yep.
So, and we're going to talk factory here, and we're not going to dive too much into the Ski-Doo Lynx side, but we do have a little bit of experience there. So it's and I feel like it's very, very common between the two.
Yep.
So with that being said, with the 155s, I mean, you have the option to have, like on a Polaris, the staple 275 track, or now the 325 track in a 155, giving it a lot more forward momentum and not so much trenching digging. And I think NA and boost, that's what my complaint would be, is how much they trench. It just, when you add a turbo on it, exaggerates it even more.
On a 46?
On a 46, yep.
Yeah. I think that actually is a bigger deal than I originally thought, because that is what I'm talking about, the lug.
Yeah.
Because I hear guys now saying this 325 from Polaris, everyone was like, it's not going to be durable. Now, dude, 90% of the people that I've talked to that's running the 325, they're like, that's the only track that I would run.
Yep.
And those are guys running 155s.
Yeah.
And I have a 325 track, but it's in a 65, and I haven't even rode the dang thing hardly at all. I don't even think I might have posted like one picture of it, but I don't have much experience on that. And plus, that's the first 165 I've ever rode. So it's like, is it the 165 or is it the 325? I don't really know, but
not a good comparison.
Yeah, I think your point is a good point, and that is the bigger lug is with as much power as they have with using the quick drive belts.
Yep.
Because that wasn't a thing in the past.
Correct.
I think people are kind of starting to tend towards, or like this style of riding we're kind of talking about. If you're interested in a 146 mountain riding, you're probably not trying to make it to the very top. You're trying to make it cool and fun. Re-entries, bow ties, stuff like that. I think that you're starting to see that, like we talked about, it used to be longer and longer and longer, and these sleds are getting more and more nimble.
Yep.
I think it's going kind of the other way. It's going back shorter, but I definitely can see the value in having a taller lug now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it definitely this year opened my eyes more to, because last year I just had the 146, and I thought, man, this thing is the best thing since sliced bread. It made things like more fun. But then now having a 155, it's like, oh, this is what I missed out on. Like that is what I should have been on. I feel like the 155 is still my all-around go-to track for fun.
Me as well.
And get around. I will not go away from that, I don't think. I think the 146 still has its place, but I would not make a 146 my primary sled, just because I think it's the lug length that really hinders it. And if they come out with a 275 or a 3-inch 146, I think we would see a huge increase in maybe forward momentum and lift, like getting up on the snow with those 146s, versus they just chew so bad. And that's, on the NA, that was my complaint with it. Like for getting good content was it just wants to trench and you never get it to like pop out of the snow. So then I thought, hey, maybe turbo 146, that's going to be enough power to where it's just going to want to jump out of the snow. And unless you put an insane amount of power to a 146, it doesn't just jump out of the snow. It tends to just dig. And I mean, you can still be a ballerina and you can be a ballerina in a flat meadow, but I don't think it's a practical sled with a turbo 146 anymore. I thought it was going to be a little more useful than what it is.
Yeah. I think it's useful for a certain purpose, you know, like we were talking about, like it's a tool in your toolkit, but it's definitely not the end all be all. The 46 to me, you know, I have a boosted 146 running a lot of power. I think it's great. You know, it's a lot of fun, but it's definitely not a get the job done sled. It's a sled that wears you out quick. But it's a lot of fun. And the other thing that I want to say before people dive in the comments and say, that's not true. Well, you're probably riding a lot different conditions than we are. You know, our snow is very dry most of the time.
Yep.
You know, and it's steep and deep.
And now it's deep. Yeah. And I think that's what I was going to say. It was with as deep as the snow is now, like when it was early season and we were just kind of like screwing around and stuff, like I thought, man, I'm going to have to turn my boost into a 146 because this is incredible. But now that we've got a good base down there and a good amount of snow on top of it, man, that 155 just does everything that I want it to do, where the 146 looks like it's an absolute struggle fest because it's just trench into China the whole time.
It is. And a lot of that, you know, giving the benefit of the doubt to the 146 is I'm completely having to relearn to ride the thing.
Yeah.
I am used to 155s. That's all I've been on my entire life. And it is completely different, especially, and you know, people in the comments will be like, "Oh, dude, like it's not that different." Well, add 300, you know, 290 horsepower. Add that to it and tell me it's not different than a 155. I mean, it's considerably different. And then with the lack of lug, like we're talking about, it's a rodeo, and it's a lot. I mean, not gonna lie, I have a lot of fun on it. I complain about it whooping me a lot, but it is a lot of fun. It can turn anything into a lot of fun, but if you have one sled, it's a 155, I think. And the 46 is, you'll have to ride it now that we have some snow.
Yeah.
And we can actually get some momentum and not be scared of hitting anything. And dude, I think you'll like it.
I think I don't want to shit on it in any way, because I still actually would probably want a boosted 146 just for the style and stuff that we do. But it's not something that I think is like, I think everybody got so hyped about it when Ski-Doo and Lynx dropped a 146 turbo. And the hype was so real and so many people got them. I'm on the side that like, that is not the sled that everybody needs.
Oh, dude, I said that in the podcast.
We said that 6 months ago.
Yeah, we said that 6 months ago.
Yep.
And you're definitely seeing it, because it's like, there's guys that you can tell, you know, you'd watch them last year. And I'm not really talking about like the pro level guys, but kind of the mid level guys that you watch him and you say, you know, he looks good. And then he gets on that 146 and you're like, yeah, you can definitely tell he's struggling.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you're struggling, but you're having more fun,
that's all that matters.
Then then if you're getting stuck more, who cares if you're having more fun? I mean, that's what it comes down to me at least.
Well, and you've kind of seen a shift in the content too, like, that I've noticed. Like, you see so many more guys that weren't doing re-entries, bow ties, stuff, hopovers, and now it's like effortless because they're riding these 146 turbos. And it's like, well, yeah, you just made doing some of that stuff effortless, but you've made some of the other things they're not as clean, that's for sure, because you can tell the lack of skill is there, but you can also see the lack in their riding ability starting to show through in the 146 and some of the other.
Are you talking about me?
No, not you at all. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
No, you just see it, like, you see more and more of them out there, and it's just, and as long as they're having fun, I really don't care. That's all that matters, right? If you're having fun with it and that's what you want, I don't care. I support it. Just viewing my thoughts on it. And I would think I'll always have a 146 NA in the fleet for jumping and for low snow conditions. And I think the 146 has a place even with a turbo in low snow conditions. But as for like putting a lot of money into a build and making it like your primary sled, I don't think like if I lived in Minnesota and was coming out here riding 2 times a year, I would not have a 146 or a 146 turbo.
No,
Like, I just would not have it, period. I think I'd just have a 155 and go let it eat on that.
well, we should come back to this after you spend some time on that 146 because it's like, dude, yeah, I talk about, dude, I got stuck in a meadow and all this like embarrassing stuff, but it's like, dude, I was having the time of my life in that meadow, you know, before that.
Yep.
But
Well,
you know, it is, you can't have the best of the extremes, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you can't have a sled that is just floats crazy, that does everything in the steep and technical stuff perfectly
yep.
to like the best on the market, and then have something that is the rowdiest in a meadow.
Yeah,
now
no,
you can
absolutely.
meet in the middle, which is, in my opinion, a 55.
Yeah.
But you're still not as rowdy as a 46 in the
No.
meadow, and you're still not floating like a 65 in the deep trees.
No, it's very true.
So-
And you wouldn't think that 146 makes that big of a difference, but damn, does that 5 inches, you know, make
Yeah.
a huge difference in the, as rowdy as it is, and the trenching and the not getting around as good. I mean, I do think there is, if you're really looking to like challenge yourself and you want to become a good rider, I think a 146 is great for that. I still will stand behind that, but it's not for everybody. And I would hate for you to invest a lot of money into one and to be disappointed when you got on it. Cause it's not all sunshine and rainbows like, you know, the Instagram bangers might make it look like. It's a struggle. I mean, kind of talked on last weekend, you had a bit of a struggle fest on the old 146.
Well, dude, but here's the thing that I was thinking about before I jump into that. What's hard for me, because you rode the NA last year, and
Yeah.
you were, if you recall, you were really happy with it.
Oh, I still stand behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're kind of talking like, and I get it. I agree with you. But dude, you got to think like that sled is not just a boosted 146.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that thing has, like, for example, let's compare. So my brother is riding a Lynx Turbo 146.
Yep.
That sled is a lot more practical,
Yes.
rides through technical terrain a lot easier.
But trenches. It trenches so bad.
It trenches. But dude, I mean, think about it. That's what makes that sled fun a lot of the time.
I think it makes it fun, but I mean,
Annoying.
even your brother, like that has a pretty decent skill set under him, watching him try to do a reentry in deep snow on it was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, I've never seen a sled go backwards while trenching, and this thing was trenching and rolling backwards somehow down the hill.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it just,
I think he just collapsed through that snow.
well, yeah. I mean, there were some obstacles working against it, but
Rocks
it was
and
just like
everything else.
watching that happen. It was like, some people do not even belong in that scenario, I think.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Having yours is like the very high end of like ridiculous 146 builds. And then the Lynx is a very good, like it's a very good representation. And same for the Ski-Doo 146 Turbo. Like it's a great representation of what that sled is. And if that's what you want, I think it's the ticket.
Yeah.
But you can't go into it thinking, I honestly think an NA 146 gets around better than the Turbo. Like for getting around.
For getting around, yes.
Yeah.
For being like doing the acrobatic re-entries, bow ties, stuff like that, popping out of the snow, probably not.
I don't think it does, yeah.
I think the boost probably whoops it there.
Yep. And I mean, I think once I got the hang of the NA 146, I could do the re-entries, the bow ties, but like it wasn't as poppy and flashy as like the Turbo is. But I definitely I never struggled on that NA 146 nor near as much as I struggle like on the Turbo 146. And that being yours or
Brad's.
Or Brad's.
But you know what's funny, dude? Remember that day in that meadow that you did like the
yeah.
loop-de-loop?
Yeah.
Dude, I gotta have one of these things. This thing's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then like, but that's where it's made to do, you know, like stuff like that. It's not made to go into the trees.
Yep.
Like on that day that we went with your dad.
Yep.
It's not made for that.
It just
you know,
can't,
especially when you have bottomless snow with rock under it. So you can't carry, or I won't carry momentum because I don't want to do a bunch of damage.
Yep.
But then I'm just trenching out the entire way because I'm too much of a wiener to like get on step
top,
and get up. Yeah,
it's kind of like a boat. In deep snow, the 146 is like a boat. Like you are like making a big ass wave or you plane it out and you got to be cooking, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise it's just like, blah, like making a surf wave almost. So.
Yeah. Okay, 55. Let's talk about the 55 a little bit.
Okay, so 55, you got so many more options, track length. I think a lot of 55s probably have a bigger lug. You see the 325, I think, is going to be revolutionary and push the envelope of what a 155 can do. And we're kind of seeing that. I don't have any experience on it, so I can't really talk on how good that is. Mine is a 275. I absolutely love it. It does everything I want, durable, so on and so forth. I've definitely caught myself relying on the 155, going slower through trees at times. And like, you can definitely rely upon it more. So that's a nice thing about it. I would say in the 155, where I'm at skill wise and where I'm at in my riding life, a 155 turbo is like perfect fit for me right now. Just because I can do some re-entries, bow ties, hop overs, whatever. And it's got the power to get that front end hopping out and everything like that. But it's not an NA 155 I struggle on because it's not playful enough for me. Unless you're in like stupid steep, right? Like if you're on really steep stuff, you can make it playful. But the way our avalanche danger has been this year, I haven't been on anything steep at all because I'm terrified it's going to slide. Like I just haven't been on it. So I'm a huge fan of the boosted 155 right now, and I'm still happy with the 275 track. Like I'd give the 325 a try, but man, that 275 has been pretty flawless, bouncing off rocks and trees and shit this year. Like thing has held up fantastic. I've got 350 miles on that sled, and we're just now getting good snow, so it's had a not abusive life, but it's felt some stuff for sure.
Yeah. But
what are your thoughts?
Here's a question for you.
Okay.
If you could have two sleds, money was no object, would you have a 55 in that fleet?
Yes.
Oh, well, I guess that's a bad question for you because you hate 65s.
Yeah, I think I don't like 65s at all. I think I would have a 155 and a 146 in the fleet no matter what. Like that's, if money's not an object, if money is not an object, I would probably have a 155 intercooled boost and then have a very, very trick, like lightweight, stupid build 850 146. And I've gotten 50 miles on a 9R now, 155. And it's good. It has good low end, but I caught myself riding it differently than a 850 or the boost for that matter. I feel like the boost I can really like milk around, and then when I want to let it eat, like I can just get into that turbo and really let it sing. The 850, I feel like I'm wringing the neck a lot, like all the time wringing its neck. But and that's just because like you can go so like,
which is
you're not
fun,
going
dude.
as fast, right?
I think it's fun sometimes when you're just on it, you know.
Yeah, but the 9R peters out on top. It doesn't have enough on top, I don't think. I had to like chop the throttle all the time. Like I'm just like, brap, brap, brap. And that's where it was like grunty. Like it was like, that's where it thrives, is like that low end and mid. And I guess when you look at the power curve, that's exactly what it shows. But it was kind of disappointing because it's not like the turbo where you're like, okay, I'm going to milk around and then I'm going to really send it right here. You know, like you got to ride it like an 850 and wring its neck. But then when you go to like, you're hauling butt up a hill and you're going to like pop a re-entry or a bow tie or something, you go to give it more and it doesn't have any more in it. Like it's like it's maxed out. So I was a little disappointed in the 9R and the 155. I'd be curious if the 9R and the 146 has a little more pop in it.
Dude, but the thing is like talking about the 9R versus the boost is people will say, well, yeah, it has a turbo. You can look at it that way, but you can also look at it as it's damn near the price of a boost.
And that's
why I like to compare the 9R versus the boost is it, you know, pennies. It's like, it's completely different, but for the same price, you got to make your mind up. If you're willing to spend, you know, $20,000 on a snowmobile, you can get a boost or a 9R for what, 500 or 800 or maybe it's like 1,200. I don't even know.
It's like right around $1,000, I think.
But for $1,000 when you're at that point,
just
what's a
have
grand?
Turbo,
Yeah, I mean, I would just, but here again, We're giving you a disclaimer. We're Colorado boys. We ride Colorado. For you guys at lower elevations or whatever, you might not agree with that. That's fine. This is what we think. So a 55 for me, I would say I love it. If I could have one sled, it'd be a 55.
Yeah.
I think my plan of having the 46 and the 65 was a great plan, a flawless plan, actually, until
no snow.
Until we got no snow. And so, like, last winter, I mean, early December, we had as much snow as we do at the end of January. And normally
maybe
we get
more.
Yeah, maybe more. And we get majority of our snowpack, it seems like, in late December, early January. So it's kind of concerning that we're not, and I'm sure it'll hit, at some point. But so right now, hindsight's 2020, I can say that I'd probably rather have a 55 and a 46. But going into the season, I didn't know that this winter would be so thin. So I got a 65 and a 46. So yeah, I think in the deep stuff like it was last winter, I think the 65 is the ticket. And I think the 65 is the ticket, even if you're trying to get rowdy, because in my opinion, this is my opinion, you can carry more speed.
Well, and also you're, like, not to throw you under the bus here, but you're a bigger dude. Like, you got some pounds on you to where you need that weight.
Pure muscle.
I mean, obviously I wasn't talking anything
Look
else.
at
You're
me.
fucking brick shit house over there, but you need that extra to get that speed up to hit those cornices and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. In the deep.
Yeah.
And so I like that float on the 65, just riding other people's 65s. And I think it's, for those days is perfect. If you have a guy that really wants to go ride trees, take the 65 is perfect. But yeah, on this year, it's like I was saying, it's a 325 and shit, it's seen the snow once on a break-in ride. I mean,
Not really a good test. Pretty skewed.
Yeah. So obviously this year I'd rather have a 55 under that sled, but it is what it is. So that's kind of my thought. I think the 55 is the best all around. It's rowdy. It floats good enough. But I don't think it does rowdiness or float and technical stuff the best.
Yep.
I think the 46 does the rowdy stuff better.
I agree.
And, dude, I was thinking about this the other day when we were riding. I was struggling with momentum, and a lot of it is because I'm afraid of hitting something because I was hitting so much stuff when we were going and riding a couple weeks ago. So I'm like gun shy on that. Once that changes, it'll be a whole different story, and I think I'll like that 146 a lot more. But even that, I was having a hard time getting enough momentum to get to the right place on the hill to pull the move I wanted to pull. And a lot of that was because I was afraid to hit something. But with a 65, you can come into, or even a 55.
You can roll into it.
You can roll into it, and then with boost, you can just gain speed going uphill, pull your move.
Yep.
46 with 290 horsepower, you can't do that. It just wants to come back. So
even just a normal 146, you can't do that. You got like an NA or the Lynx for that matter. You have to hit it like wringing its neck.
Yeah.
And
which is fun.
Yeah, like it's fun in its own way, but you lose the expectation of doing when you look at the hill and you say, I want to go there and do that. Mm-hmm. You kind of can't do it. And I think it comes back to that lug length of the 146 is it just trenches too much and you do not get up to where you need to go. Like you just physically cannot get it up there unless you make a run at it, come back down, and then you use that same poach that track, but kind of messes your shot up then, I think.
Dude, I mean, and before we go any further in this, I will say we are being ultra picky. We are. When you really look at it, any of these sleds off the showroom floor with cut tunnels, they'll do anything. You see guys pulling crazy bow ties on 65s. You'll see people climbing technical stuff on the 46. There's no doubt about it. You just have to ride it differently. So before you're in the comments saying, that's BS, I can do re-entries on my 65. Yeah, we know. We're talking about if you were going to build a sled that is for a certain purpose, what would you build? That's all we're saying.
Just giving you some background information of what we're at right now, what we found. Yeah,
we didn't plan any of this podcast. We're just spouting off, kind of talking just about different ideas. But we've had some experience. So I don't know, dude. I still think the 55 is a lot of fun. I would like to throw the 55 under that intercool setup and see what it's like.
Yep.
But dude, I mean, there's a lot more to the thing I will say that I'm having a hard time getting used to with that much power, honestly, is the dardiness of that track.
Yeah.
Because
even when you're wheeling, like,
it's just going
fishy,
crazy.
yeah.
You know, you don't have that extra whatever couple inches in the snow.
Yep.
And I remember when I took Brad's sled out before I'd ever rode a 46 or my 46, I took that sled out. Remember? I was like, dude, this thing is darty.
Yes.
Like, it just feels like it's all over the place.
It's fast.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they are, which again is fun, but I'm having to relearn how to ride this sled. Like, I'm being completely transparent, putting my ego aside. This sled is a big learning curve for me.
Absolutely.
When it comes to not riding it down the trail, not side hilling it. I mean, like, actually riding it and like trying to get to its full or somewhat full potential.
Yep.
When it comes to that, it's a lot of fun learning, but it can definitely be frustrating at times.
Well, I think you hit two good points there. For one, I think any one of these sleds, we're being ultra picky, but any one of these sleds that we have would be an absolute riot for anybody, anytime. Like, they are phenomenal at what they do and what you're doing with them. We're being ultra picky. But two, you also hit the nail on the head. You have to ride each one differently. Yeah. And that is some of the fun for us, and why we're doing these different builds and such a different path with it, is it keeps it exciting for us and lets us enjoy the sport of snowmobiling. Like, that's how we're enjoying it, is like, if you were riding the same 155 that you had last year, would you be having as much fun as you've had, like, trying to relearn to ride that rowdy buck and bull, you know?
And you make a good point. You made this point last year, and that is a 146 in Colorado in the steep and the deep.
Yep.
It will help you learn a lot of things. Number one, to me, is momentum.
Yeah, you have to.
And like we were talking about, like, what track link's the best for you, we mentioned in that podcast. I think the 55 is great to learn on because it teaches you momentum, but it's not.
There's a safety there still.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And so going to this 46, like, even though I feel like I've learned to ride, I feel like I'm a good rider. I'm definitely not the best rider, but I'm a decent rider. I would say that I'm having to, like, take 10 steps back and be like, okay.
You got to take the basics back again, almost. Yeah. Yep. You got to, okay, I'm not stopping downhill anymore. I'm not, like, I got to carry momentum. If I want to get up there, I got to carry some momentum. You know, you got to kind of think your lines out. You can't cheat on it anymore. You got to have a plan A and you got to execute it.
And I think a lot of it too is, like, the track length's different. The horsepower's considerably different. The suspension is completely different. So there's so many variables that are, like, fluctuating for me to try to, like, get super comfortable on this sled. And it's, I would say I'm pretty dang comfortable on it now.
Yeah.
But dude, for the first couple rides, even in meadows, I'm like, this thing's just weird. Like, it's just so different than what I'm used to, you know?
Absolutely.
So,
well, and I think a lot of that's just the squirreliness in the 146. And I would say that's more in the boost. It's a lot more squirrely, but I think fast is a better word for the NA. Is it does things so much faster. It pivots faster. It maneuvers faster. You know, there's no lag in it. It's like ding, 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 like a pinball, you know? Mm-hmm. And you have to be able to keep up with it. But then while you're keeping up with it, you got to keep going faster to keep that momentum. And then you do that with a turbo. It's heavier. You know, you got to have even more momentum. It's wanting, you know, you got that much more power going wham, wham with that turbo to where it's even faster yet. So it just kind of amplifies the NA. I still think it's a fantastic sled, and a turbo or NA, but it's definitely just, you got to be aware of what you're riding and what you're on.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's kind of my thoughts.
I think that broke it down really good on where we're at right now between the two. And
this wasn't a very formal video. But
no, but I think it was. I think it was pretty good. Like, I feel pretty good about, you know, that should give you guys some pretty good in-depth, like, raw what we have felt so far, because we've kind of rode a pretty good amount of sleds this year and got some good feedback. And we got some suspension stuff coming for you guys here soon. So
yeah, that's been another.
Yeah, we've been messing with a lot of stuff. So
good
stuff on the way for you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys. Peace. Let her eat.